1 minute. There we go.
Hayden B, how are you doing?
I'm on enough. I'm dog sitting
Oh, nice. Where are you?
at my house.
Oh, nice. I like those. Is that Haida paintings in the back?
Probably I stopped looking at them ages ago.
Totally fair. All right,
I
let's
have to
pull
say
this.
this experience has made me say I'm not getting a dog when I'm older.
You're not going to get what, a dog when you're older?
Nope, dog sitting's too much work.
I can imagine, yeah. It's
They're
not my cup of tea either.
too bloody needy.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, I love my dog, but I probably, if it wasn't for my wife, I probably wouldn't have a dog. So, um, I hear you. How long are you dog sitting for? Just for today or for the weekend?
For the whole weekend.
Wow, that's a good
Can't even
chunk of
go to
time.
work because one of them is an overgrown puppy who will pee on the floor if I leave.
Our dog is like that too. How old is that dog?
I don't think she's even a year yet.
Oh, okay. Ours does that too, and it drives me insane. She's 3, but she's super, sorry if this is making noise. She's super emotional, and even though she's been thoroughly trained, she can't stop peeing every time somebody comes over. It's crazy.
In Bella's case, she's just too excitable and will try and. She's wrecked several pairs of shoes already.
Oh no. Oh, what kind of dog is she?
Um, Poodle something.
Oh, that's the one. Have I seen that dog? Have you held that dog during?
No, that's the other one, Kiko. She's over here.
Oh, okay, fair. Crazy.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's
well, let's get into this. I think you're really close. It's really little things. And one sort of question in the last half of it. So, let's just see here. The word inferior comes up. I was gonna ask this before. I lost count of how many times inferior is used, which sometimes is fine, but it seems to be there's two things about inferior that I just wanted to sort of throw at you and just give you some time to think about. No need to make any changes in the session. Besides the repeated use of the word inferior, it seems like that's Azmathet's whole thing. Like his whole apart from what's happening with the El Noon and what's different about them from humans and so on, his whole thing seems to be I'm superior and you're inferior. He feels that way about Zeustax, he feels that way about the humans. And I thought a villain whose primary thing appears to just be I'm inferior or I'm superior and you're inferior, it runs the risk of being a little two dimensional, where it's sort of like, really, is that his whole thing?
Let's
That's
be
like,
fair, the Al Noon are supposed to be two-dimensional opponents.
okay, so they're not. So here's the only thing with that is it feels if a villain, I'm going to call him a villain for now, in this case an alien villain, if a villain is sort of a one trick pony, it's like, okay, so all I have to do is figure out how to get around that firewall and we're good. It does it begs the question, like it essentially makes it look like not only he, but if the El Noon, if that's their whole shtick, is we're better than everybody. Yeah, what else you got? That's it. That's the whole thing. We're better than everybody. I'm like, okay, but do you have a plan? Nope, fuck a plan. We're better than everybody. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it might be more interesting. Like that was my only beef with Emperor Palpatine, the way he's presented in the books. I thought he was more interesting in the books. I like Palpatine, but his whole shtick seemed to be unlimited power. Like he's being attacked by, like when the whole scene where Mace Windu gets killed, and he's like, unlimited power. I went, holy shit, George, were you taking a shit when you wrote this script? Because that's the worst motivation I've ever heard. But that seemed to be the whole thing for Palpatine. And then when he comes back in the rise
Oh,
of
also,
the rise of
Palpatine seems to get
Skywalker,
really stupid after he wins, doesn't he? Like, is it just
yeah.
me? Because I feel like the whole Empire thing is just one giant failure on his part.
Okay,
Especially when you
since we're
consider how well he was doing before this. I can't help but wonder if the whole Mace Windu fight left him with brain damage.
oh,
Because,
since we're
dear
talking about it,
God,
he's so like, even though I didn't love the prequels, I didn't hate them as much as some people do, and I watched them on a writing level. I'm like, you've got the coolest idea in sci-fi recently, where we are going to see the transformation of a democracy to a dictatorship, which is basically Hitler all over again.
yeah.
Cool. Oh, you can't go wrong with this. And then George Lucas wrote it, and I went, oh, you totally went wrong with it. Palpatine seems to do all this really smart calculating. Although the whole trade federation thing, I was like, oh, really? You're going to open Phantom Menace with, okay, like the first movie ends with, you know, A New Hope starts with the Empire has built a huge planet that can destroy planets. And I'm like, holy crap, that's terrifying. Beginning of Phantom Menace. The Empire has blocked trade routes to the Trade Federation and taxation. And I'm like, what? That's the big win on Phantom Menace? Taxing trades routes?
Clone Wars does a lot better.
What's that?
Clone Wars, the TV show.
Absolutely, especially after that, it was so good. So, point simply being is when the villain's biggest thing, the biggest thing they have going for them is I'm better than everybody else. What else? That's the whole show. Watch me be better than everybody else. And I'm like, ugh, Palpatine. So it might be enough to just simply reduce the amount of times he's sort of thinking about how much better
To
he
be
was. Like
clear,
by the time it,
when Azimuth uses the word inferior, he's referring to Alnoon who are less than himself. That's a common theme with the Alnoon I want to keep up is that inferiors are Alhoon that are worse than themselves, lessers are humans and others, and then there are slaves. And that is how they see the entire cosmos, basically.
totally. And I think that's got to be a part of it. But if that's the only, let's put it this way, if that's the only thing mentioned in this chapter when it comes, because by the time here's where I kind of laughed, and it's not you, it's just the fact that so inferior, 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 and then you had this line here. Clearly, Zugstax was an inferior of the lowest degree. And I'm like, I know it's clearly. You've said it 4 times. You don't need to say it again. So I'm like, nope, we're gonna get rid of that sentence because it's already clear. Telepathic little things like you had.
I tried to get rid of. Wait, did you
You
get
did a
like
good
the?
job with.
I'm pretty sure I got rid of as much telepathy as I could.
This was the only section left. This was the only area where it just happened to be. It could be that you moved on, that kind of thing. And I've given you some alternates mentally with his thoughts, mind to mind, anything sometimes, especially when it's an adjective or an adverb. You're right. It's the only time. And this was a huge improvement. This was great. What you had before was good, but this was smooth. I had noticed I have like almost nothing in terms of critique. This all works. This all works. Let me just see if I can find. Yeah, it was quite a while. I thought this is totally working. This is good. This was the whole note I just mentioned about seeing if there's something to make it give him something more to say, or to again, you don't need to add a bunch of stuff. I would just reduce the number of times he uses inferior or uses that as the measuring stick. The only other thing I thought, Hayden, I was curious what you thought. This is like when he walks away, like I almost want the chapter to end there. But then what we have is this, which is good because it's the sort of the escape. But then it goes into discussions and explanations. It's quite long, 5 pages. And by the time I got to the end of it, I'm like, oh yeah. So what was this guy's name again? It feels like truly 2 chapters in one, but you can't really make it 2 chapters because this is critical. So my first thought is if it was me, I would take page 8 to 12. There's very, very little in 1 to 7 to change, in my opinion, except for, potentially just reducing the inferiors. If there was a way to get page 8 to 12, like cut in half, like if like ruthlessly, if your life depended on going through it and cutting out everything that wasn't essential and really making a nice tight three pages, if there was a way to do it, I might do that. Other than that, I think it's good. So there's just a lot of conversation and so on that just feels like I'm waiting for it to be over. I don't mean it's boring and terrible at all. I just mean I was like, okay, yeah. And I would just cut it down to the stuff that's essential. Otherwise, I think you're really close with this chapter and it's really fun. And I love the changes. You've done the first 7 pages. I'm like, yep, we're there.
Okay. I tried to reduce the latter the last 5 pages down as much as I could. So I guess I'll do
Sure.
that again. But yeah,
And I can
if that's mostly done, then that's half my job.
and I totally said with us. I've been there so many times where I'm like, yeah, but this is all fun and this is good and it's important. And I would have teachers at Vancouver Film School say, is it though? Is it though? And I'd be like, for sure. Then I went back and I went, okay, yeah, no, probably get to the punchline quicker because I'm at the dramatic high point for me felt like it was before the symbols, although you've got some really fun stuff happening here. But that's it. Do what you
I
want
guess
with.
I could just end it at the symbols, but my problem is the last page has what I think is a really great ending and intro into the next chapter.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you what you want. Like, I really did like the idea that you would focus this whole chapter on Asmathat and what he's up to. The only other thing I would do is here structurally, if it was me. Now, Asmathat will go and gather the inferiors before he travels to the Ziggurat and kills Beastmen. And then I would probably drop this as,
Yeah.
rather than making this all one paragraph, him leaving and walking out and sort of a reaction from Julius and Ramona as he's leaving would be sort of that what we call buttoning up the scene.
Hmm.
That's the only thing I might do. Here, I'll just put that in here.
Yeah, just a reminder for villain-ness, Azmathat was basically created like 2 weeks ago, so he's not exactly unique or
Of
special
course.
yet.
Totally. No, and that's the thank you for reminding me of that. That's so you're in really good shape actually, Hayden, because at this stage, for somebody who's just sort of thrown in, and he was a throwaway initially, he was just there to facilitate this scene, and now you've given him more life and longevity. And so yeah, absolutely. I would be in the same place. I'm like, I'm still trying to figure this guy out, Paul. And I'm like, perfect.
Oh,
But
not really. I've already got a plan for him. I'm going to turn him into a spy for another Al Noon faction that focuses on bio um, bioengineering.
oh, interesting.
He's going
Okay.
to betray Morty. Yeah. But
Wow.
again, they see all non-Al Noon as basically lesser races. Which,
That
to an extent makes sense. They eat brain. Their favorite food is the brains of sentience, so they are predators to things like humans, elves, orcs, and all that type of stuff.
yeah,
And they communicate almost exclusively through telepathy. So that's a much more efficient way to communicate. So from their perspective, they are higher up on the food chain, despite the fact that they're basically
absolutely.
Jello. And before they figured out how to use magic to fly around, they basically stuck themselves to the back of lurkers and like they were kind of like that amoeba thing on the back of crabs that keeps away fish from eating them.
Okay.
I don't remember what it's called.
Horrifying. I love it. I think I know what you mean. Like, yeah,
They had a Magic School Bus episode on it where the kids got
not
turned into like something water plants and the other half crabs, and had to put half the kids on the others' backs to survive the fish. I don't remember its episode name.
oh weird. I love that show though. That's one of my favorite shows ever.
Yeah, the reboot sucked though. Do not
Yeah,
understand how you screwed up a.
it's
How do
de-
you screw up Magic School Bus?
it's very different. It's a very different vibe with Kate McKinnon doing the voice. I usually love her, but that show is kind of weird for me. I'm going to be gone pretty much this next week just with the move. And I'm wondering if you did want to resume, you did want to continue.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. I'd love to keep working with you and never any pressure. I won't be sort of have landed till about the 4th. And so I'm wondering if do you want to pick it up on, let me just see here. It would mean basically taking what's the date today? The 25th? Losing my mind.
Yeah,
It would
25th.
mean skipping next week and then starting the week following, which would be about the 10th or the 9th or the 10th, either Saturday or sorry, Sunday or Monday, 9th or
Okay,
10th.
give me a sec. I just want to check the dates.
Sure.
Sorry about this.
No rush.
Follower. Always good. Okay, so God damn it, computer, open the. There we go. Okay, so the last one released on last Tuesday. So yeah, the fourth will be when the next chapter, this one we're working on right now, is released.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I think we can basically just say it fine to skipping um next week, the fourth or whatever.
Yeah,
So let's just bank that as like something to use later.
that sounds good. And I'll make sure we do that. In fact, let me make the note now.
Yeah.
There we go. And then we can resume on the night. Are Monday nights still good for you?
Yeah, Monday nights work perfectly for me.
Okay, I'm just gonna go this banked one. And that is the third. I'm gonna do that. Perfect. Some following events. Perfect. Okay, then, and what I'll need to do, Hayden, too, is I remember too that I'm 3 hours ahead, so it probably won't be 8 because that would be 11 o'clock at night for me.
Fair enough.
How early? How early is too early for you? Is 5 too early for you?
No, five's fine. Five should be fine.
That's perfect. I'm just going to make that note. Okay, go 5 p.m. PST, just so I don't forget. Okay, perfect. I'll send these notes to you. Great work again. I love the cleanups. You took that feedback out very well.
Yeah, so big things I think for me is to fix up the Azimuth end of his thing, and then maybe try and simmer down Julius's and Ramona's part. Or do we just want to have Azimuth for the whole thing?
For that whole chapter, you mean?
Yeah.
I
Like
think
one option is just to cut him off there, and the other option is to just keep going and have him meet up with Morty and some of the other Alnoon and take them out.
I mean, I personally, this is just my opinion, but I personally love just a kind of a standalone
Alnoon chapter.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more effective that way. So long as we get, in my opinion, so long as at the end of that chapter we get some kind of reaction, not a verbal one necessarily, but a reaction from Julius and Ramona as he's walking out, just to sort of bring us back to them, and then whatever you want to do with the next chapter.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's no problem.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I can work with that. I might. Though that does now though for the next chapter, I now have to wonder: should I try and make things? Should I immediately lead with Ramona and Julius's bit, and then switch to Ramona in the fight? Because my main problem with that is that their pages ended perfectly for me.
Yeah.
It ends with the nukes timer go hitting start. So
Yeah, I mean, so everything you have currently as pages 8 to 12 could be your next chapter, and then although I wouldn't mind if you continued on with the explosion and whatever else comes as a result of them planting the nuke within that chapter, like symbols, and then the chapter, because I think just them getting to the point where they drop the nuke, where they activate the nuke, it might be strong enough, but it feels like you could easily do the symbols and then go into what happens next. But that's up to you, whichever you prefer.
yeah. My only reason for wanting to keep it the same is because I really liked how the cliffhanger at the end. But
Yeah.
life's life. And besides, I'm fine switching over to Ramona. I was going to do that anyways from her perspective, and the rest of the chapters. Right. So yeah,
Okay.
I'll do some shopping, set everything up, and I'll see you
On the 10th.
Okay, I'll see you on the 10th.
All right. Best of luck, Hayden. And bug me in between now and then if you have
10th
anything you need.
at 5 p.m., right?
5 p.m. your time, yeah, which will be 8 p.m. for me. Yeah, well, I'll be in Ontario next time we chat.
Okay.
Okay, good luck, brother.
See you. Good luck to you too, Paul. Have a good
Thank you.
life. Enjoy Ontario. Wish me
Thank
luck with
you.
the dogs.
Appreciate it. You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.